This small business owner is being victimized in a check cashing scam that could target you next.
A man who's been in the news for pretending he's disabled in order to get money has been charged with rape.
Getting set for the potential for a nasty Thursday morning commute for parts of central and eastern Kentucky. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey tracking snow showers and squalls just ahead.
Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at 5:30.
Good evening to you. We had a brief break from the winter weather today, but tomorrow is a whole other story, starting with a drop in temperatures.
Yeah, I'm glad it lasted as long as it did. We begin with our Chief Meteorologist, Chris Bailey, about these major changes coming our way, Chris.
Yeah, starting to pick up on those changes already on Live First Alert Defender. No, I'm not talking about precipitation just yet. I'm talking about a quick change from beautiful clear skies to overcast conditions in a matter of minutes. I've put the clouds and temperatures on Defender to show you how quickly and how pronounced this line of cloud cover really is. It's right on top of Lexington now. Temperatures outside of that with clear skies will initially drop a little quicker than what folks in northern Kentucky will be seeing with the clouds. So your clear skies into southern Kentucky getting ready to go by the wayside very, very quickly. That is right ahead of our Arctic front that is on the move across northern Kentucky into the southern parts of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. The real push of cold air actually shows up to the northwest of this. So we have a secondary front on here. I just wanted to keep things simple for you with the first front that is out there. That northwesterly wind that will be pushing into the area later tonight into Thursday will create snow showers and snow squalls. Anywhere from a coating to maybe an inch of snow, that will be a possibility, creating some slick roads and reduced visibilities first thing tomorrow morning. So here's what we are tracking with the weather headlines. Not just one, not two. I've got 3 shots of Arctic cold showing up on your 7-day forecast, guys. Snow chances with those squalls increasing tomorrow, then into the weekend and next week. Getting my attention. We'll show you why when I come back in a few minutes.
Thank you, Chris. And for the latest updates on school closings and delays, be sure to check WKYT.com. He's known for pretending to have an intellectual disability to get money from people. Tonight, a man accused of trying to swindle people around the state is facing more serious charges.
A grand jury indicted Gary Thompson, this time on a rape charge. Victor Puente has more on his latest charge in our top story at 5:30.
Frankfort police say the victim in this case actually has an intellectual disability, unlike the man charged with rape who's admitted to faking one. This is an interview Gary Thompson did with us in 2013.
Why be ashamed for did something to eat?
And this is from one of his arrests here in Lexington.
I'm not going in one of them cells right there for 3 hours. I'm not doing that.
Yesterday, he was indicted by a Franklin County grand jury on a charge of third-degree rape. Police say the victim was a woman he knew who had invited him back to her apartment last February.
The visit became physical in the sense that he forced himself upon her, forced intercourse, which she did not want.
The indictment says the victim is incapable of consent because she has an intellectual disability. Police say the crime was reported in May, and it's taken them a while to put together their case. They say it's possible Thompson came into contact with her while pretending he was also intellectually disabled.
He basically would go out here and make people feel sorry for him. So I don't know if that played into the role of that or not.
Last February, we reported that Frankfort police had arrested Thompson and charged him with criminal trespassing because he wouldn't leave an apartment. We don't know if that was the apartment belonging to the victim in this case. Richardson says keeping Thompson in jail is a big goal for his detectives.
Getting the word out about this gentleman, that he's taken advantage of people that are very vulnerable or of their acts of kindness, I think that's really important, as well as holding him accountable for these charges.
Along with that rape charge, Thompson was also indicted for being a persistent felony offender. He's already serving time for assaulting a corrections officer in Shelby County. In Frankfort, Victor Puente, WKYT.
Thompson is also serving time for criminal possession of a forged instrument. That conviction is out of Barron County.
We have a crime alert to pass along to you tonight. Police say it started as a routine drug arrest, but led them to an elaborate credit card scheme. Police were called to a hotel room in Corbin after getting a complaint that someone was smoking marijuana. As our Phil Pendleton tells us, during that search, police identified dozens of fake cards. He has the latest on the investigation in this Crime Tracker report.
It was just after 5 Tuesday when police in Laurel County were called to a hotel room in the Corbin area, just off of Interstate 75's exit 29. The complaint was someone smoking marijuana.
The two men came to the door. They were immediately uncooperative with our officers.
One said he was Omar Saeed. The other wouldn't say who he was, but police say they soon learned that both were involved in high-tech, sophisticated financial crimes.
One individual had 79 cards with his name on them. Another individual in the room had 55 cards with his name on them.
Police say the two were taking stolen credit card numbers and making dozens, if not hundreds, of fake cards with them.
They had all the cards laid out. They had the equipment to scan cards and program information onto the magnetic strips.
Cards were taken to a Corbin business to get MoneyGrams.
Using the credit card information, the forged credit cards, to get MoneyGrams for up to $250.
Money was then sent to offshore accounts in the Philippines.
This is just the tip of the iceberg on this investigation.
Police say one man had IDs from Oklahoma, the other from Georgia.
And we're not even sure that those were valid, that they may have been fictitious and made up documents as well.
Separating the fact from the fake being a huge part of the troubling and scary reality of this kind of crime. In Laurel County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
And police say they continue to investigate and discuss the case with other law enforcement agencies.
One man is dead and another is charged with his murder following an early morning shooting. Our county-by-county coverage begins in Pike County. Police say Robert Atkins shot James Pratt in the chest. Pratt was taken to the hospital where he later died. Police arrested Atkins and charged him with murder. A man who was staying with Pratt says he heard the whole thing unfold.
I heard Kevin holler, he was saying, "Let me up, let me up, let me up," a bunch of times. And I guess he let him up, and it wasn't but a few seconds after that I heard the gun go off.
Police say right now they are conducting interviews to figure out exactly what happened. In Nelson County, a man is behind bars after he led police on a high-speed chase. Police arrested Vincent Dakota Nethery. He's charged with fleeing and evading police, among other charges. Police say more charges are pending in connection to the assault of his mother.
It was a huge discovery for state police. They arrested 8 people as part of a drug roundup in Laurel County. That roundup is part of a 5-month investigation. All the suspects are in the Laurel County Detention Center. Police say they expect to make more arrests. The parents of a Kentucky man killed in a highway overpass collapse in Ohio have filed a lawsuit. Brandon Carl's parents sued the Ohio Department of Transportation on behalf of his estate and his family. They claim the department was negligent and allowed improper and unsafe conditions at the work site. The suit is asking for damages and more than $11,000 in funeral expenses.
If you are hoping to cash in tonight's Powerball, you are not alone. People across the country are lining up for their chance to win tonight's big jackpot. That jackpot is now up to $500 million, and it is the 3rd largest in Powerball history. People who have purchased a ticket say they know their chances are slim, but they are keeping their fingers crossed for a big win.
I don't know. I'd have a hard time deciding. I'd give a lot of it to my family and stuff.
Yeah.
Make sure everybody was good after I'm gone.
If you want the chance to win, you have until 10 tonight to buy that ticket.
This story comes with a warning about a check cashing scam that could cost you big time. Scammers have found yet another way to rob you without you even knowing it's happening.
They had used my name and my address, and there was checks going out to various people for large amounts of money.
Sean is the owner of Frank's Auto Shop. He was surprised to learn that the name and address of his business were being used on counterfeit checks. To date, Sean says none of his accounts have been compromised as best as he can tell. But he knows the reputation of his business is being compromised.
Sometimes they use legitimate company addresses as the return address on the postage that's being sent to different people to make it seem legitimate.
Postal inspectors say con artists use fake checks in all sorts of scams.
People look up the company and see there is a legitimate company there, but it's all a ruse. The company did not mail the check out.
The goal is to get victims to deposit the fake checks and send money back via money orders or even cash. Then, days later, the victim learns the check bounced and they're out of all that money.
I think it's disgusting. I think it's, at least back in the old days when you got robbed, you knew you got robbed.
Sean is learning a valuable lesson about the need to monitor all of his accounts every day.
I also look at all of my credit cards closely since I got the call, so that I'm online checking my balance, checking to see what was spent, make sure that I recognize the transactions.
In the meantime, postal inspectors are advising consumers to be on the lookout for companies looking to hire people to stuff envelopes with those fake checks.
If you've been hired to put checks into envelopes and you're being provided postage, you need to contact the postal inspectors and find out if this is a legitimate job.
If consumers ever receive a check they're instructed to deposit or reship to someone else, you can always take it to your hometown bank, have them check it out.
Follow WKYT online at WKYT.com. Join the conversation on Twitter and become a part of the WKYT Facebook family.
A new bill that could bring an increase in minimum wage is the center of a debate between the Kentucky House and Senate.
And a Kentucky senator scheduled to make an appearance in this weekend's Kentucky Newsmakers. Bill Bryant tells us who in today's Bottom Line.
Good evening. The Kentucky House has passed a bill that would boost the state's minimum wage eventually to $10.10 an hour, but its path is uncertain going forward. Democratic House Speaker Greg Stumbo is pushing hard for the measure that also attracted some Republican support in the House, but down the hall in the Republican-controlled state Senate, its fate is unclear. Many Republicans say boosting the minimum wage would kill jobs. Pressure is building on both sides of the debate. The Herald Leader reported today that the Kentucky Restaurant Association, which opposes a higher minimum, hosted a free lunch for lawmakers at the Capitol. That's not unusual because many interest groups are hosting meals this session. In fact, the Kentucky League of Cities is holding a reception for lawmakers tonight. Their main priority is a push for a local option sales tax for projects. Well, they're taking on heady issues this week in Washington, including whether to authorize the president to continue to wage war on ISIS terrorists. But Kentucky's congressional delegation will be at home next week as Congress takes what it calls a district work week. Central Kentucky Congressman Andy Barr will be busy making several stops in the 6th District, and we've just confirmed him as a guest on Kentucky Newsmakers. Meanwhile, Senator Rand Paul, who continues to eye a potential bid for the presidency, is shoring up support at home ahead of his re-election bid next year. He'll make a stop in Lexington to speak to the Chamber of Commerce a week from tomorrow. There's another move afoot to change Kentucky's statewide elections for governor and other constitutional offices to even-numbered years beginning in 2024. Senate Bill 93 is sponsored by 3 Republicans. Kentucky has a long tradition of being one of few states to have a so-called off-year election in odd-numbered years. Bill Bryant, WKYT.
A new bill could put bourbon back on the drink menu at Kentucky distilleries. The bill would allow distilleries to sell their own products by the drink. Visitors would be able to enjoy a drink or a cocktail during a special event or after hours. Employees say the bill would give distilleries a new stream of income.